My name is Chris Bailey. I'm an artist, a video painter for the most part. I work with acrylic painting, a lot of figurative work, but then I layer it over video monitors. So there's sort of a moving element that's mixed in with the painting.
And where are you from? Are you in New York City?
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Maryland, but I've been in New York for a little over 20 years. So I'm based in Brooklyn.
What part of Maryland?
Silver Spring, Chevy Chase, DC suburbs, basically.
Okay. Now, could you talk a little bit about the technical side of what you're doing
Sure.
artistically?
Yeah, so basically, I've been working in some form. I've been working with trying to combine video and painting, basically trying to create a sort of moving painting for a long time, and I've worked on a lot of different variations of that. I started working with projectors and actually projecting onto paintings and sort of creating areas of motion, and worked on that for a while. Still really love some of the paintings that I did in that set, but I was finding that the sort of the logistics of sending a projector onto the painting and setting that up kind of took it away from it being an object, and there's something really important to me about the idea that the technology kind of recedes from the experience of viewing the painting, and also that these things could potentially exist in homes or exist in public spaces in a way that projectors sort of become an installation thing. So about 5 years ago, I started working on monitors, and I actually originally started just painting on televisions, like LED televisions that I had, and I bought some cheap ones and kind of painted on them, and then I broke one, just dropped it, and then I was kind of like, oh, well, now I don't have a painting anymore, you know. And it registered to me that, you know, and the sort of the art school thing about like, is this archival? Is this an object that can exist beyond you? Started to kick in with me, and I started to really investigate and kind of get mad scientist-y kind of about how do I create a fully functional closed loop system that I could just plug in and it would turn on, but that I could iterate on quickly. So painting on a bunch of TVs was not really feasible. I started working on 1/8" acrylic transparent panels. It's basically like if you took the screen, front screen off of an LED and then painted on it, and then I framed them with the screen. So it's effectively, it gives the effect of having been painted on the television, but I can just keep painting on those acrylic panels as much as I want. So I have, I think, 18 pieces in this show, I think 15 video pieces, and I probably have 50, 60, 70 in some form sitting around, and it's because I stopped getting so precious when you're painting on like a TV or something that's expensive, similar to painting on a very large canvas, or, you know, you start to get precious with, you know, the value of the materials and the ability to store the art. And I think that's really freed me up. And so now I have the television, you know, I only really need one to work with, and then I have a media player, and then it's all connected in and designed so that when you plug it in and turn it on, the media player starts up, TV starts up, and the thing just plays.
Now, what is your background? Is it from painting or video or both?
So I was originally, I was a fine arts major. I was a painting major in college. I went to a pretty intense art high school, and so I actually learned I'm a pretty extensively classically trained painter. But then all through high school and college, and then beyond, I was also working in technology. So I knew how to code early on. And I actually work for HBO Max now, and so I work in technology. So there's kind of this like, I work I create software for televisions in my day job, and there is like the technology element has always been something that's intriguing to me, and so I kind of come at it from less from the, and I actually did do some video work, wrote some scripts and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of that too mixed in. Maybe where the inspiration came from. I was in high school, I did a lot of video. But it's mostly sort of as a classically trained painter, thinking about how I can push painting in new directions, and having the technology background that I have sort of always had, I felt like I was in a position to maybe do something that, hadn't been done before.
Were there any other artists that inspired you to go this direction?
It's interesting. Not particularly on the video and time-based aspect of it. I would say that there's a lot of other artists who have inspired me, generally. But I think the only one that I tend to, I don't know, I'm gonna blank on it right now. The Duchamp's Attendons. I don't know if you know that,
I don't know that piece.
Yeah, it's just really weird. He spent the last 30 years of his life with a secret painting or it's not even a painting. It's like a diorama in his studio in Philadelphia. And if I got Duchamp wrong, then I'm stupid. But it's a big brick wall, and there's a tiny little hole in it.
Oh, I know that piece.
Yeah, it's in Philadelphia now.
Yeah, I've seen that many times.
I probably got the name wrong too. But it's like a sort of naked woman lying in the grass.
Yeah.
And I remember I was having arguments with my friends in college about all the kind of found object stuff and everything like that, and like what is art, all that sort of things, very art school type conversations. And there's something that I found really interesting about the way he was so focused on controlling your perspective, and that a guy who had done so many different things and pushed boundaries in so many different ways spent like 30 years or whatever it was on this very sort of like detailed fixed perspective thing. And also very high craftsmanship and stuff like that. So anyway, that kind of, I would say that they're like, when I was thinking about where art could go or where I could try to take art, I started to get interested in that idea of like a fixed perspective and like kind of controlling the experience. The other one is actually James Turrell, less on the video or painting aspect, but on the kind of experience side. I mean, he's awesome, but I sort of, first time I experienced one, I was in a museum, like, again, in college, in Italy, I think. I've actually tried to find the museum and I haven't been able to, like, rediscover it, but it was one of those ones where you walk into a room and it's just a big room, it's pretty dark, and there's a blue square on the other wall. And as you walk towards it, you're trying to figure out what's happening, and then at some point and people are sort of staring, and you're like, why are people staring at this thing? And then you realize it's a void, not like a projection onto the wall. And then I remember going back and sitting on the back bench and watching other people walk into the room and slowly figure out what happened, and just like seeing the degree to which people sort of had this moment of discovery and kind of like this experiential thing got me really interested in how to do that. And I think, so yeah, I said I didn't have any inspirations, but I guess I've thought about that sort of thing a lot over the years, and like how, I have very different work, but the same idea of what you want to feel when you walk into a space with a piece is I'm sort of searching for that same feeling.
Any thoughts on Warhol's films, his earliest ones that were moving paintings rather than really films that you would sit down and watch?
No, I love, like, it's interesting because like all of that, like the sort of whole stretch of film as art films, I really loved. I was in an arts program in middle school, and we did a lot of, we had like a broadcast journalism class and stuff like that. And we shot movies on like Super 8 and, that analog kind of thing. And I really liked the quality that created. And it's actually sort of, as I moved in college and I started to work in video, one of the original motivations for projecting onto paintings was because I felt like the video was washed out and didn't get that same quality that some of those, like the early Warhols, like all this sort of like the experimental 60s and 70s stuff, like all that stuff, like felt like it had so much depth and so much like grit, I guess. And then I'd see these videos, and like now I feel like people probably see that as having like a bit of a nostalgic look in themselves. But like the contrast is always kind of weak, and I just felt like I wanted more richness, and so I wanted to project onto paintings just to like get a better quality of light. But yeah, I think a lot of that stuff just sort of like, and also just Warhol's like, I get interested in Warhol's whole productization of art too, which, you know, there's mixed feelings about, but I sort of, there is a part of me that aspires to getting art to the masses, and like I work in like product management and like sort of thinking about how to make something accessible in user experience design. It's actually like I kind of like, I love that he would just sort of like mess around, fuck with shit and do that kind of thing, but also sort of believed in this idea of like the factory and like the whole like, there's like a sort of like a right way to do commercialization or selling out, quote unquote, that I liked about him too.
Now, I took a little video of larger paintings out there. Is there any one of those that you could talk to me about? You know? Sure.
Yeah, I think it's actually interesting. The one that I'm sort of happiest with right now, I guess, is the centerpiece, Royal Meadow, and that's one that's really did sort of evolve over time. It started as a smaller version of that piece, and I was actually working on it when I was out in California visiting with friends, and it was a little bit sort of like kind of like a basic prompt of like, they had, you know, it's a California house, so they had bigger TVs, more space than usual, so they had these big black boxes there, and I'd been working on monitors for a couple years, and I was really in that moment thinking about like, what can I do? How do I activate this sort of dead space that exists in these people's living space, in their home? And then it was pretty close friends of ours who had moved out there, and so the piece is actually kind of about attachment and distance, and so it was sort of originally inspired. I actually worked on it there on that TV, on just the video piece of it late into the night, and then I brought it back and I painted it on over top of it, and then eventually upsized it because it sort of spoke to me. But the imagery is all sort of taken from like personal experiences, memories, interactions with people that myself and my family are close to. And this was coming not long after COVID as well, and so I think of it as these kind of like, as a mixture of sort of like, how do I connect with people who I've lost touch with, who I'm distant now, but then also these portals become to me something about like, where do we go? And the rowboat that's in it, I use quite a bit, and I've been using it since probably like 15 years now. And to me, it's kind of it's a signifier of sort of the journey one goes on with a partner. And so I've always thought of it as sort of like a symbol for kind of like relationship and love and connection. And there's moments where you feel like you're kind of in this little boat in this like crashing sea, and you're heading in a direction, but you don't know where it's going to be, you don't know where it's going, and there's storms passing, and there's people here and there's kind of these villages and, you know, these sort of features, but on some level the connection that you have with someone, and the sort of, when you've made a decision to share your life with them and sort of share consequences with someone, put you so much closer and sort of so much farther away from everybody else in a way. So that's kind of what that's about. So it's about sort of like being in that little boat, feeling like you're in the ocean, but then trying to continue to connect with the people that you love.
Now, how did you end up showing at the Greenpoint Gallery?
It was interesting, actually. I actually have a studio like right nearby, and we've been here since 2020. And so I've been to Greenpoint Gallery a few times, actually. And it's funny, I didn't even realize when I moved into the studio here that I had a piece in one of the open calls in 2015 or something. So I'd been here like once before. And then in this case, Sean came by the studio, and we were having open studios that weekend, and he saw the Portals piece that's out there, and he was like, "This is awesome." He was like, "This is like, you got to put this in the open call." So I put it in the open call, and then I won that open call and got the solo exhibition out of it. But yeah, it was really Sean kind of like convincing me. He was like, people need to see this, and it was the first time I'd shown anyone any of the big work, the 65-inch monitor size that I have 3 of in this show, and so it was a cool moment, because it really, I'd been working on it. I'd sort of been like, this is fun. I like this size. I like the effect that it creates, but like, I don't know. Are there even galleries at this point who have enough space to show it? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, all right, I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. And he was so into it. And then when I had it at the open call, people were really responding to it. So it actually encouraged me. I'd been working, so I work on interchangeable panels. So I had one of the 65-inch TVs, and I was sort of like, all right, let me try big. And so I was working on 5 panels that I was, putting in and out. And so for this show, I said, all right, I gotta stay big. And so I ended up getting 2 more televisions to make sure that I could have the full, and also I wouldn't have been able to do this in there's just not, it's New York City, like, gallery spaces that have this much wall space and this much sort of space to breathe are hard to come by, hard to get into. So I'm really thankful to Sean for giving me the opportunity and giving me the space to kind of do it justice, I guess.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And good luck with the show tonight.
Thank you very much.